Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. In this video, we're going to create our scoring system. Now, before we do that, we're just going to grab our collectible game object over here, and we are going to stick that into our prefabs folder. All right, once I've done that, I'm going to just make a couple of copies of it and move them around to different locations. All right, now I've done that, I'm going to create a new script. So I'm going to right click on my script folder, go up to script and C#, and I'm going to call this scoring. And open it up. Now in here, I'm going to get rid of the starting script because we're not going to use that. What we are going to need to add though is we're going to copy our Unity engine and we're going to add Unity engine.ui. Now that we've done that, I'm going to create a couple of objects. So I'm going to make it a public text object, and I'm going to call this score text. Then I'm going to create a public integer, which I'm going to set called score. And I'm going to set that to 0 to begin with. Right, now I've got these objects, I'm going to jump into update. And what I want to do is I want to create a string variable. I'm going to call it, let's call it sword1. And I'm typically going to put this as score and have a space after it. I'm going to create a second string calling it sword2. And this one is going to be our score integer. And we're going to need to convert it to a string. So we're going to say to string, and double parenthesis to access that function. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take these two variables and we're going to concatenate them together. So we're going to say our score text game object dot text, and we're going to make that our string dot concat, and we're going to tell it what objects we want it to concatenate. So we want it to concatenate sword1, sword2. So what that will do is that will allow us to now create a text game object. And this will automatically insert the score object as a string along with our word score here. So we're going to save that. And now we're going to grab this public integer here and we're going to make it a static object. What that will enable us to do is that means we'll be able to access this variable score in any of our other scripts, which we're going to want to do. So I'm going to jump into my collect script from our collectible item. Right. And right here, just before we set the object to set active false, we're going to add our scoring dot score game object. And we're going to add 1 to it. Right. Or we can make it equal to the game object. And then add 1 to it. Either way should work fine. So if we save this now and go back to our game, right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select our collectible objects and add them into a parent. So I can hide them away. And now I'm going to need to create something to show our score. So let's go up to File, create a new scene. which can make an empty scene. I'm going to add a camera object to it, just so that we can see what's happening on the game screen. I'm going to right click and I'm going to go down to UI, and I'm going to add a canvas. Right, and then I'm going to right click on the canvas, go down to UI again, and this time I'm going to add some text. I want to use the legacy text system for this. So I'm going to go down to legacy text. All right, so you see here I've got my text legacy. If I click on the game screen, I can see my text here. So what I want to do is I want to move that up into the top right hand corner. So to do that, I'm going to click on this box here beside our. Right, I'm going to hold down the Alt key and I'm going to click the top right hand corner. You can see that moved our text up to the top right. Now I don't want it completely against the top, so I'm going to move it on the Y from -15 to -20. I'll move it down a little bit. You see here it's quite wide. I'm going to change it from 160 to 100. And then I'm going to move it on the X position. Just drag it across until it's closer to that corner there. So maybe about -40. Right, now I've got this here, I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to get my scoring object. And I'm going to add that to the canvas. So in here on my canvas, I've got score text. I'm going to grab my text object and put it there. Then I'm going to jump back onto my text object and I'm just going to change it from that grey color to something that stands out a little bit more, probably white. So I'm pretty happy with the way this looks. I'm going to now delete my camera. And I'm going to save this scene. Save it into my scenes folder. This is just going to be my, let's call it my UI scene. All right, all I need to do now is I need to overlay this UI scene onto my base scene, which is my sample scene. So let's go back to our sample scene. All right, and now I'm going to create a new empty. I'm going to call this the UI loader. I'm going to go to my scripts and create a new C# script. And once again, I'll just call this UI loader. I'm going to remove the update because all I want to use is the start function. Okay, so now what we're going to do is in our void start, we're going to load our UI scene. To do that, we're going to use the scene manager. And we're going to load a scene. We're going to load it by using the scene name. So I've called it UI. And then we're going to tell it to load the scene. And we want to use the mode of additive. Now, in order to be able to use our scene manager, we're going to go up the top here, and we're going to use Unity Engine dot scene manager. Right, so if we save this script and go back to our game, And in order to be able to use our C major, we need to add a new using. And we're going to be using dot scene management. If we save that script and then go back into our game, okay, now to be able to use our C major, we need to create a new using. And we're going to be using dot scene management. And we're going to save that and jump back into our game. We go to our UI loader, we add our script to it, and now when we press play, we should end up with a score button, a score in the top right corner. Alright, so before we can do that, you can see here we forgot to add it to our build settings. So we go to File, Build Settings, what we can do here is we can grab our UI and drag it over, and then close the build settings, go back to the play scene, and now we've got our score. Let's check that it works by running into some of our game objects, and you can see that our score goes up as we collect all of our game objects. Excellent. All right, that's going to be it for this video, ladies and gents. In the next video, we're going to add our death. Catch you there.